There we go. Jimmy Janlén, how are you doing today?
I'm really good, but nervous. We're bidding on an apartment here.
Nice, nice. So welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate your time. So please, could you talk to the audience about who is Jimmy and how did you end up being advocate for agile methodologies, practices, mindset?
Sure. I started out studying computer science because I want to work with digital movie effects. I forgot about that. So instead, I became a consultant and a developer and engineer. And after many years, I became part of a team. That was a new thing. And the managers told me, we're doing Scrum here. That's the process. And I went, go away. Don't go process on me. I want to code. This was back in 2005. But after a while, I discovered that this thing they called Scrum and the way of working was actually helping me collaborate and get stuff done and have fun. So then I started to pay attention and I started to reading everything on the interweb about Agile and Scrum, and I got really excited. And yeah, after a while, I got the chance to be a Scrum Master, working with the people and the team, and I really loved that. So yeah, a few years down the road, I got the chance to, as a consultant, be an Agile coach for many teams. And yeah, I've been kind of doing only Agile coaching for the last 12-ish years. And I haven't written any single line of code that ended up in production for a long time. So yeah, so and I got the luxury of working with a lot of young startups and scale-ups, such as I guess the most famous one is Spotify. So I spent some time there for many years, and then many other cool, exciting startups in Stockholm, Sweden. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's the short summary, I guess. And along the way, I started doing trainings and courses and write a blog. I have a YouTube channel, written some books. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds very interesting. Maybe you can mention the YouTube channel to the audience right away.
Yeah, cool. It's called Agile with Jimmy. So like that. And my ambition is to publish one episode once a month, where I try to explain some concept or idea of Agile, Scrum, Kanban. And it's a variety of hands-on practical stuff for the team, but also addressing leadership and organizational structures and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, let's make sure that the audience clicks in the description, or maybe I will put it in the comments, right? So you can join right away. Thank you for sharing, Jimmy. Regarding your book, you have a book called Visualization Examples, right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So how did the idea to write this book started, and how was your creative process?
I love visualizations, and I've always been a graphical visual person. I love to draw, and I always become very happy when I see teams actually visualizing something on whiteboards with posts. So I got the habit of taking tons of pictures wherever I was working with teams or companies, with their approval, of course. So I started harvesting and collecting, visualization examples. And then someone said, Jim, then I showed this to people and pointed at them and said, you should write a blog post or a book or something. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. So then I started actually writing in Word or actually PowerPoint. And then I started asking for feedback, but then people said, no, it's too hard to give feedback on a PowerPoint, just sending around a PowerPoint file. Can you convert it into a Google slide deck? After some convincing, I did, and I got great feedback. So then I started writing the book online. Fast feedback cycles, right? So every time I've written a new page, I posted it on LinkedIn and said, hello, people, join me and give me feedback. Help me correct spelling mistakes, give feedback, opinions, suggestions. So I wrote the book collaboratively, publicly, transparent online, and people started discussing and proposing and suggesting. It was great fun. And if you were lucky or had a bad luck, you could actually enter and see me type the page. So that was great fun. And after a while, I was happy enough with the content and quality, so I had printed and I sell it on my website, and it's also available on PDF. And it's been translated to 12 languages, I think, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's in French as well.
So what's the audience for this one? Is it for Scrum Masters, coaches, strategies about Agile?
It's typically for the Agile team. So if you're an Agile team and you want inspiration on how to use your whiteboard or Miro or Mural to visualize your ways of working, your process, work in progress, working agreements, create new habits. So it's tons of, it's an easy read. It's super easy. This is the way I want my book. So it's a picture and the text. Picture, text. So
Nice.
it's not meant to be written. It's not meant to be read cover to cover. No, you flip up, open a page and look, does this inspire me or not? If not, move on. Maybe you find something that you want to present to your team. And I intentionally did it small so it would fit in your back of your pocket. So as a Scrum Master or Agile Coach, you can have it easily accessible.
Nice. Where can we buy it, Jimmy?
So it's on my website, agilewithjimmy.com.
Okay, awesome.
So it's self-published because I didn't have the patience to deal with publishers and all their comments and feedback. So yeah.
Yeah, that's how a lot of persons do it nowadays, right? It's faster, right? So it's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you mentioned your website, I was over there and I looked at, you have a lot of stuff over there. Could you give us a quick walkthrough or explanation of what can we find in your website?
Yeah. So I guess it's my shopping window or my public presence. Even though I create most updates and news on LinkedIn, this is where I try to maintain a schedule of my upcoming courses. So I do some physically in Stockholm, but majority of them are conducted over video, Zoom. Highly collaborative and great fun, even though it's video. So you can find upcoming courses. There's some blogs, even though I spend most of my time and effort now doing YouTube videos. I have some book tips and recommendations of the books I prefer and like. What else? And also regarding trainings, I offer in-house courses. On location or remote, and seminars and talks. So you can find those as well. And now I got that call. I need to take it.
That's good. Go, please. Good luck.
Hej, jag sitter i en videointervju. Kan vi hålla det kort? Nej, jag känner okej, bra. Då skriver jag det till mäklaren. Puss, hej då.
That was not the call.
All right, sorry.
That was not the good call, right? That was another one? Or?
Sorry?
Was that the important call or was that another one?
No, that was the important call, but we have texted, so it was a no. We're not going to bid. I'm going to reply to the broker.
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. So I hope last sentence was good enough.
Yeah, it was good.
All right.
No worries.
Yeah, on the website. I guess that's it. Let me open it. So let me double check if there's something more important I want to say about.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, there's one more thing. Okay, so the kids just got home, so I'm just going to tell them I'm busy. Hallå, jag spelar in här inne i sovrummet. Okay, puss. All right. So, there's one more thing I would like to mention about my website. There's one tab called Creation, and here's archive of other stuff I've done. So my books are listed here, but I've also created a deck of cards called Jimmy Cards, which you also can buy on the web shop on the site. It's like conversation starters for team. But then I've created posters and leadership health check and team health check and educational posters using Star Wars Lego and a bunch of other stuff. So there's a lot of fun stuff over there. And there's also the book you referred to before we started recording, Jenny Discovers. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy, for sharing, and I will put the link in the comments also. Jimmy, could you mention or do you remember a time when there was like this aha moment and you said, well, this Agile thing really works, right? I would like to dig more on this. Do you remember when was this? Was there some action or some moment, or was it just like a process?
No, I think that conviction came really quickly. So when I first encountered Scrum in 2005 and I understood what we were doing, it was the bastard version of Scrum. Talk more about that. But then I realized that this is the way to do it. Collaborate in teams, visualize what you're doing so that you can talk about it, inclusive decision making, and trying to ship something as often as you possibly can. That was just vast different from what I've been doing earlier. So earlier I've been either doing kind of just random ad hoc, a bunch of engineers just trying to get shit done in a chaotic way, individuals working on their stuff for months and then trying to integrate, or some version of waterfall route. So it was just obvious for me. This needs to work, and it worked. It was a bastard version because they did a lot of bureaucratic estimation in hours and a lot of weird stuff, but they had the core thing. And then I guess when I really saw it full-fledged was at Spotify. So Spotify was born with an agile mindset and an agile ways of working, with a strong emphasis on autonomous self-organizing teams. Not only self-organizing, but also autonomous in the way that they were in the driving seat of discovery and their roadmap and what they wanted to do next with their part of the product. And very few rules. A lot of things were unclear and messy, and it worked because of the emphasis of collaboration, communication, transparency. So I guess that strengthened my beliefs, and also gave me tons of experience of how this could work in practice. Because it's so easy for an agile evangelist to talk about self-organizing teams and collaboration and teamwork and yada, yada, yada. And then once you scale up 10 teams, 100 teams, it becomes pretty difficult. You can do safe, but then you're back to bureaucracy again. So that's not the solution in my head. It works, obviously, because it's popular. But if you want to maintain an agile, fast-paced decision-making environment, well, safe is not the way to go. Then you need to try other approaches. So I guess my time at Spotify and other startups and scale-ups like Krylivi and Tibber and many others gave me an experience and a toolbox and insights on how this can work on multiple layers of the organization.
Got it. Thank you. So regarding Spotify, were they already doing the Spotify model over there? Did they have the tribes and the chapters and everything?
Yeah. So that's a whole chapter in itself talking about Spotify model. But when I started, they had just the tribes were just born. The chapters and the squads. The terminology had been around for a while, but now the tribes had formed. There were 5 when I started the first time around, and a few years later, I was there for 2 occasions. So I was there for 1.5, 2 years. Then I did other stuff, and then I was back for roughly 1.5, 2 years. And when I said goodbye the second time, I think there were, I don't know, 25-ish tribes, and the tribes were aggregated into alliances and missions and whatnot. But yeah, in the essence, what people refer to as the Spotify model are typically tribes, squads, and chapters, and maybe the roles, the product owner, agile coaches, and chapter leads and tribe leads. So yeah, that was in place. But there's way more to the Spotify model than that. That's the thing that's easy to put on a picture. I would say the core part of Spotify model, Spotify way of doing things, was super strong emphasis on autonomy, even though that shifted over time as they scaled. Flat organization and autonomy in the product ownership as well. And their way of treating each other. It's so much more, and the default to transparency and default to trust and all these kind of more vague, abstract cultural things. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned that product ownership was very self-organizing, right? How did they maintain still like everyone aligned to a bigger strategy or a bigger goal?
They tried different things over the time, my time there. But when I left, they had a framework they called the Spotify Rhythm. And they still have that, even though it's it's expanded. So now it's a 50-page, 70-page summary of a lot of processes and whatnot. But they're huge now. But at the time I left, they were 4,000. So in essence, on a company level, they have a vision and a mission. So far into the future, this is where we want to be. And then they had what they called North Star goals. 1 billion subscribers, 1 million artists making a living from Spotify. The most diverse company in the world, North Stars, right? And from that, they set, and this was the lead team, they set 2-year goals. So 2 years from now, we should hit this number or that many subscribers. So that was the long-term strategic ambitions, hope. And then they had company bet, and these were efforts that required collaboration between tribes across the organization, because these are hard to drive and make happen in autonomous environments. So then they had company bet, and there were no more than 10. Even though there were 4,000 people, there were no more than 10. And then, in the beginning they were 30, and then there were 10 for many years. And then for a while, there were only 4 or 5 of them. And so these were, if you can contribute to this, you have to. So I know you're autonomous. I know you're supposed to do whatever you want, but if you can contribute to the company bet, you have. And that was a mechanism to enforce focus on the hard work. And then each tribe and each squad were autonomous. So they, given all context and their best understanding of the direction of the company and the users and markets and business and whatnot, they created roadmaps and plans which they executed on. And to make sure everyone run in roughly the same direction, we had a quarterly OKR season. So that's when all tribes, one way or another, they tried to kind of capture their roadmaps and plans and align with others. So they negotiated priorities with others. And by the end of that week, they captured what they wanted to do for the quarter in the shape of OKR. But as the weeks went on, obviously reality hit and plans diverted or got canceled or things got added. But then next quarter, we realigned all the squads and tribes during the OKR season week to run roughly.
Nice.
It was a top-down and bottom-up and sideways approach to strategic alignment, which I love.
Yeah, sounds good. Some of the companies where I have been, that I have seen that do this well, have something similar. You have the OKRs, and then you have the teams collaborating towards these OKRs, but then every sprint goal, you try to match it to an OKR, right? So that's how we align OKRs with sprint goals. Yeah. Is that the case, or?
Not really. I think Spotify misuse OKRs. For them, it was only a language to capture on a tribe level. So one tribe contains many squads, right? So this is what we intend to do this quarter, and we communicate this plan in the shape of OKRs so that others might challenge it, question it, or align to it. So it wasn't really, the tribe OKRs wasn't broken down to squad OKRs. No, it was more of a summary. Well, in some tribes they were. So autonomy, right? Everyone does things different. So in some tribes, the tribe leads set OKRs, and then the squad kind of broke them down into squad OKRs, and then for each sprint, they tried to figure out how to contribute. In other tribes, the total opposite happened. So each squad declared their ambitions and plans and goals, and then they cherry-picked. So so what do we tell others? Well, let's just take the most important things we want to accomplish and put them as an OKR. Cool, done. So that was bottom up totally. In other tribes, the tribe lead set the objectives, the squads, the teams set the KR. So the tribe lead said, we want to focus on these things. The squads informed the leads of what's reasonable, what's accomplishable, put numbers on the key result. So it varied a lot, but each tribe in their autonomy communicated their goals and ambitions in the shape of OKR. Is this the way Google does it? No. Is there company level OKRs? No, there was. So each tribe had their own OKRs living in parallel.
Got it. What happened with an OKR that changed in the middle of the quarter, right? Were they able to change them, adjust them, or did they wait for the queue?
No, in our tribe we updated OKR. So if it no longer made sense, it was maybe too ambitious, or we learned something, right? Then we updated the OKR. We changed the number or the goal to reflect reality. In some cases, we realized that no, we're not going to do this. It's not valid anymore. We shouldn't put effort into this. And in some cases, we just realized no, there's no chance we can accomplish this. We're going to work on it, but we're not going to finish it. So we made that transparent as well. So we had I actually wrote a lengthy blog post on this, which can be found on my website. It's called. Browsing at the same time here. It's called Make OKRs and Forecasts Come Alive. So it's a really lengthy blog post explaining how we worked with the company bets and OKRs, and we had something similar to big room planning, or it was inspired by SAFe, even though it's not the same thing. So it's a lengthy blog post explaining how we did it in our tribe for a while. But if there's one thing that is true about Spotify, things change. So they're doing it totally different today. And but that was true for a couple of years.
Yeah, that was what I heard. Many companies trying to copy the Spotify model, and Spotify is not doing it anymore. It was kind of funny, right?
Well, no, they're still doing the Spotify model, but it looks different from the things shared many years ago.
Okay, so it's just like an evolution of the same content.
If I allow myself to rant a little bit, if you say we're doing the Spotify model, okay, according to what date and what minute? So it's forever changing. It's not like SAFe, where there's a version number to it and there's a certification. No, what people refer to as the Spotify model is a simple white paper and 2 YouTube videos, and then everyone guesses and extracts and extrapolates from that. I think I truly believe in the power of the structure of tribes and chapters and squads and autonomy and empowered product teams, and they had a lot of great things going on. So the core ideas I strongly subscribe to, and I teach and I practice. But like any model, you should just be inspired by it and try it out and see for yourself what works and what doesn't work, what makes sense in our context.
Yeah, totally agree. One of the big questions that I would have regarding these ways of working is one of the challenges is for the operation teams, right? The ones doing support. How do they integrate with the Scrum teams? Are these guys doing and girls doing Kanban, and they're just aside, or how do they collaborate?
Well, after a while, more and more squads demanded responsibility of production. So they have end to end. So you can call all teams or DevOps teams. So majority of squads, when I was working there, they figured out what to do next, did the discovery, did the development, they launched prototypes, A/B tests, and then they rolled out the feature, and then they monitored production and had on-call rotation schedules, and they fixed the problems. So
wow.
And the squads wanted this. That change was driven by the people in the team. And that was another insight. People want responsibility. They want to feel ownership and pride in quality of what they do. So the teams were the drivers of this change. 2 challenges, obviously. One was technical. How do we set up monitoring and on-call and whatnot? The other one was legal, the hiring contracts and whatnot. So yeah, of course they have support teams or a whole tribe. So when you reach out for support with questions and whatnot, that's handled by a lot of people. But production problems, issues, downtime, incidents, handled by the squad that built it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, Jimmy, what's your take on, you mentioned SAFe, right? So I guess that as you have lived this Spotify model, you can compare it to other approaches, right? When scaling Scrum, what's your take on SAFe and the other scaling approaches?
Well, SAFe is a genius masterpiece of marketable management stuff. So yeah, it's packageable, and obviously it's an easy sell. Buy this and you'll be agile. And obviously it does work for many companies. Could those companies be even faster and more agile and more lean if they evolved beyond that? Yes, I believe so. But it's like I tend to think of SAFe like Scrum. If you're new to agile and you have no clue how to do it, and servant leadership and teamwork and collaboration and self-organization are new things for you, do Scrum. Buy the book. Don't cheat on anything, because that's going to force you to practice these new skills and behavior. And it's disruptive, right? So you don't add it on top of old processes. No, you remove the old stuff and you do Scrum instead. So I guess if you want a disruptive change, maybe SAFe could be the way, but there's no purpose of doing SAFe. The purpose is to create more value and happy customers and more money. It's just a tool. So if you make SAFe, if you send people off to get certification and continuously upgrade to the next SAFe version, whatever that I don't even count I don't know the current number. You're missing the point. It's just a tool, just like Agile and Scrum and Kanban. So even though it's a big tool, it's just another tool. If it doesn't work, you should challenge it and question it and remove stuff that doesn't help you or just delays decision making or sabotage undermines collaboration, etc. So, but I think to introduce a disruptive change as a first step, but you have to keep the momentum of challenging and testing other stuff. But it's way more prescriptive. So than Spotify model, for example. So Agile, what's that? That's a 1-pager. We value this over that, and then there's 12 principles. A Scrum guide, 10, 12 pages.
Yeah, like 13.
SAFe. That's I don't know how. And you have to do it this way, even though in the beginning, I guess the teachers talk about the value of the Agile values, people over process and collaboration over process, etc. But that very quickly put behind, and then you talk about all the protocols and all the roles and all the ceremonies and all the, so it's super prescriptive. And yeah, if you want to be fast, don't do safe. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
But it's easy.
Yeah.
It's an easy way. It's an easy buy and easy sell.
Yeah, it's very commercial, right? For companies, big companies, it's an easy bet, right? I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it gets you halfway, but
yeah. If you do it good, I think it helps a lot. If you do it like very prescriptive and following the book and without taking the context of your company, then it will not work, right? Probably as many other, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy, one question regarding your experience with Spotify. As Agile coaches, we are a sum of our experiences, right? We can do the theory, we can look at certifications, whatever. But when you see something working really well, like you have seen in Spotify, every time that you go into a new company as an Agile coach, and I have seen that you have a lot of experience in your LinkedIn, do you compare it to what they are doing? Do you try to apply chapters? Do you try to get some of the best practices from there and apply them there? Or
good question. No, yes and no. I look behind. So chapters is a solution to the problem of knowledge sharing. So and personal development, peer-to-peer personal development, and developing mastery within different domains. So that's one way of addressing that. There are other. So what I do look at, do they spend time on all the important stuff, such as, do people learn from each other? Do they have mechanisms for priority negotiations when shit hits the fan, or when there's not enough time to do anything? Or is it up to a random manager to decide? So do they have the mechanisms, the organizational structures and mechanisms in place to cope with these problems and challenges, and the crucial conversations that needs to happen across the organization? Sometimes I propose chapters. Sometimes I propose community of practices or something else. If they have, I'm more on the lookout of that. And also it depends on what they want and what their current situation is. No, I typically don't just look for ways to apply the Spotify model ideas and kind of inject them or shoehorn them into the organization. I try to start with first understanding their challenges by interviewing and making up my own mind about dysfunctions or hypotheses of challenges that they have, and then go from there.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so Jimmy, based on your experience, how does agility or Agile extend beyond work practices and more into life in context?
That's a good one. I don't think it does. Because for me, if you extrapolate Agile to mean anything, you're watering it down to no meaning at all. So for me, Agile is an emergent property of a company. And if not a team, a team can easily be Agile. But if the whole organization isn't Agile, that's besides the point. But as a company, you frequently try to figure out how to learn by shipping, delivering, measuring. You have team-based organization with inclusive decision-making.
Oh, something happened over here. Give me a second.
Yeah.
There we go. Call. Okay.
If you're frequently trying to deliver value, learning from it, and pushing as many decisions as possible to the teams, doing valid practices for them. That could be story pointing or continuous integration and all these ideas. I guess then you're doing Agile. But then in some sense, you're an Agile company. If you can quickly pivot or change direction depending on business needs or crisis like COVID or the Ukraine war, if there is a structure to that, so that helps you do that in a structured manner without everyone panicking. Can a person be Agile? There's a lot of talk about the Agile mindset, for example. I guess so. You can talk. Makes sense, or a good conversation at least. But for me, we have Agile marketing or Agile HR, and is the Agile coffee mugs. At some point, you're just watering it down. Talk about something else. But sure, if you're a person that hates collaborating with others in teams, if you're really uncomfortable sharing whenever you have a problem or asking for help, if you want to make your own decisions without including the team or others, well, you're gonna hate working in an Agile environment. That's not the place for you. And in other situations, Agile is the wrong tool. For some companies and some businesses, I always think it's more fun to work in a team and making decisions together, daily stand-ups and retrospectives. But in some context, in some businesses, that's just going to create overhead. It's not going to add value or make you faster, or maybe not even in the game for being fast. Maybe you're in for being slow and secure. No risks whatsoever. So
Okay.
no, I try to avoid using. I'm actually trying to avoid using the word agile at all, because it's such a big legacy, and everyone has their own opinion. So you have to have an agile mindset. Well, if I ask you to write a list of what does it mean to have an agile mindset, top 10 things, and then you compare it to others, it's going to differ. You're not even going to be able to agree on a final list of top 10 things that is the agile mindset. So stop talk about it. Talk about what behaviors do we want to see? What do we believe is key to success? That's debatable and discussable and more pragmatic, I think.
Got it. Thank you, Jimmy. Makes sense. Okay. So what's in your long experience, man? What's your common misconceptions that you have seen about agile methodologies in the companies where you have worked? I'm not looking for answers like, well, they don't do retrospectives. Okay, yeah, I mean, we know that there's something to improve over there, but rather, I would like the audience to look at this conversation or this answer and maybe say, oh, we are probably doing that, and we didn't know that this was that we were not doing it correctly, or that this was not agile. What do you think about it?
Oh, such a tricky one. Well, one misconception is, I guess, maybe it's because I've been spending a lot of time in startups and scale-ups. There's an overemphasis on autonomy, as if it's up to me and my team to decide everything. We're agile, we're autonomous, we're supposed to be able to do whatever we want. But no, that's not true. We need to collaborate together with other teams, and we also need to kind of adapt and adjust and put trust in the direction of the company and the strategic bets and gambles that happens on a higher level, and contribute to that. So no, we're semi-autonomous. We should have as much freedom as possible, but not if it sabotages for other teams or the business. So that's a tricky balance and a misconception. But no, don't tell me what to do. I'm agile. We are agile. So now we need to play nice together. A common misconception is that among leaders, because a lot of leaders today started out working in agile teams or Scrum maybe, and then they eventually got promoted, and now they're engineering managers or CTOs or whatnot, CPOs, chief product owner, and they assume that all the new hires that they put into the Scrum teams and the squads know how to do the agile practices, which they don't. So that's a misconception, that everyone knows how to work nicely in agile team with vertical development, slicing, frequent deliverables, continuous integration, test autonomy, test automatization, and all these important ingredients that makes us fast in our learning. So that's a misconception, that everyone knows. All the brilliant minds they hire, they know how to be great Scrum team members. Many don't. What else? Those two are top of mind.
Yeah, those two work. The first one, I really like it because I have been there and I know what it means. So thank you. Okay, so one of the challenges that I've had, and I'm sure that you have also had these challenges, the resistance for not only from leadership, as you mentioned, but also from team members, right, to Agile. How do you? So there's the two examples would work, right? So CEO tries to be Agile, but he doesn't want to let go, power, right? And that's one challenge. And the other one would be with a teammate, right? One of the persons over there, a QA or a development, they don't believe in Agile. I'm not attending your dailies. I don't care about your Scrum thing. So how do you deal with these two roles, not liking or not promoting Agile practices?
I've kind of been cheating on this one, because I have chosen, or I have the luxury so far, to be able to choose or spend most of my time working with companies that already have this ambition of doing Agile. So I haven't had to convince that many people, especially not management, because they believe in autonomy and teams and things, Scrum or Kanban, whatever the team chooses to do is a good way forward. And I try to avoid evangelizing or trying to convince anyone that Agile is a good thing. But with that said, when talking to management and leaders, the CTOs and chief product owners or CFO or whatnot, or tribe leads or department managers, I try to figure out. I don't try to sell them Agile or convince them of Scrum. That's the wrong starting point. I try to first understand their problems and challenges. What do they want to achieve? What problems what problems do they face? And then I try to see if my experience and expertise of Agile ideas and the Agile toolbox, if there are tools or mechanisms or ideas there that can help them. And then I try to use their language. So if they talk about reaching business objectives, so I say, here's the one way of doing it is that you micromanage or tell, we can continue doing whatever we're doing, projects, but that leads to waste and multitasking and whatnot. There's another way of doing it. Have you tried? How about trying that? Because that would generate more money or faster impact. So I'm trying to figure out what we want to achieve and then use their language, their choice of words when talking, to show that I understand their situation and what they want to, and then build a relationship of trust. So I'm more of a partner or than a coach, maybe. When it comes to teams, well, if there is one person in a team that refuses to collaborate, be a team player, hide away for months, just not showing up for any time of team activities, I would try to get that person fired, because he or she is not helping out. He or she is probably unhappy and shouldn't be there in the first place, and that person is undermining the team's ability to succeed. But then you have that's a corner case. When it comes to encouraging the team to try new things, I try to have fun exercises. One way I've found pretty straightforward to encourage the team to experiment, to try new stuff, to encourage more collaboration and more transparency and more teamwork is actually, I know I'm selling my book now, but I've done this many times. I put this book in the hands of the people and say, you two, you read pages 10 to 40, you read 40 to 60, 60 to 80, etc. And then I wanted to choose one or two things you would like to try out. So get back here in 30 minutes, and then you will present back one or two things you would like the team to try out. And we'll put it to a vote. And by the end of this hour, you have agreed upon 2 or 3 or 4 experiments to run for the next month. So I try to break it down into small, not scary things to try out that will have them practice stuff like collaboration, team decision, transparency, helping out, all these good behaviors we want to see in a team. I try to introduce small experiments to help them do that. I don't focus on the why necessarily, or the reasoning, or the agile mindset. I think that I might briefly mention it, but my belief is that by practicing new behaviors, we will eventually shape the mindset of people. So I rather have them practice or trying out new things, and then later on, hopefully they'll see the value of it and have created new habits for them.
Got it. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Jimmy, one of the biggest challenges that I have had with friends and family is trying to explain what Agile is in simple words. Also, when they ask, what are you doing? I'm an Agile coach. I do consulting for Agile. They are like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, so how do you explain it in simple words?
That's the worst question ever. So, Jimmy, what do you do for work? And I go, fuck. Sometimes I say, I'm a management consultant.
Yeah.
Sometimes I reply with, I'm working with leadership and management primarily in IT companies, and I'm trying to help them become better leaders, more nicer leaders, create a more healthy work environment for the people. Sometimes I explain that if I realize that the person has some experience of the IT domain, projects and whatnot, then I might say that if a company tries to create a team-based organization with inclusive decision making and transparency and inclusive servant leadership on a big scale, I help them figure out how to make that work in their environment, in their context, with their people. Because on paper, it's simple. In practice, it's hard. So there's a lot of challenges with waterfall and stuff like that. There's a lot of challenge, and during a transformation, there's a lot of challenges of education, getting rid of old parts and replacing it with new ideas, getting the teams in place, getting rid of projects, etc., etc. So, but once you're through the transformation and you're agile, You have a full new repertoire of problems. Autonomous team that needs to align, knowledge sharing, so there's so many new challenges. Even though you're agile, you're going to have a new bag of problems. So I as a consultant, I help leaders and managers navigate through those new challenges, and in many times replacing one set of bureaucracy with another set of bureaucracy, I guess, or other frameworks or tools for structuring the important conversations that needs to happen. So yeah, it's such a tricky question. Part of me, partially, primarily, I'm a workshop facilitator. That's it feels like I spend most of my time just helping people in the room, in the team or department or in the chapter or in the whatever, understand each other, debate, discuss, find options, and agree.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm decision workshop facilitator. But sometimes I teach. I explain the concepts and ideas. Sometimes I am driving. I'm leading a change by, for example, facilitating the new big room planning sessions, or showing a team how to have good and fun retrospectives, or proposing an experiment. So I might initially drive that and set it up and show how it could be done, but then I try to hand it if successful and it's valuable, I try to hand it over. Many times I'm a conversation partner to leaders and managers, just more of a pure coach, I guess, helping them navigate through their challenges and what they want to accomplish. But yeah, no, that's such a tricky question.
Yeah, but I think they should have gotten the idea by now. So I think it was a good answer. Okay, Jimmy, the Agile Manifesto was created over 2 decades ago, right? Yeah. How relevant do you think it is in today's tech landscape? Do you think we need a version 2, or are we good?
No, we need a version 2. I think that will never happen because there are too many people with opinions. I like modern Agile. I think that's a nice way of capturing the core ideas, because it's obvious that the Agile Manifesto was written by engineers for a single team, more or less. And the ideas are still valid and valuable and good practices. But if you look at the principles, they are not the masterpiece of wordsmithing. You need to read some of them 5 times before you get the idea. So yeah, but it's a relevant historical document. But I kind of like it that way. For me, the gist of it is, as an organization, we distribute ownership in 2 teams, and we try to figure out how to learn quickly by delivering and measuring and learning. And we try to figure out how to maintain autonomy and self-organization and ownership, even though we're many departments and many teams, so that we can negotiate priorities and change direction quickly. Should that be captured in a manifesto? Yeah, sure. I could write an Agile Manifesto 2.0, but so can anyone else, and people are doing it. There is even something called Agile 2.0, but they got it all wrong. It's a 50-page long descriptive thing of all the details you should do. That deserves a rant of its own, I think. But I think every single company should ask themselves, so what is key to our success? What do we believe in? Is it rapid decision making? Is it clear lines of ownership, or is it autonomy? Is it delivering high quality? What is key to our success? That should be inspired by modern Agile and Agile Manifesto or other descriptions of values. But I think each company should declare for themselves, what do we believe is key to success, and how do we want to collectively behave as a company? What behaviors and values do we have, and make it our own?
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think if it was written today, I think it would not be engineers in a team. It would probably be the leaders and managers of kind of what we call agile companies, using business language more rather than emphasize on the code, the engineering practices.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Jimmy, how has your view of leadership evolved during the last 10 years, I would say?
More nuanced, I guess, because when you learn something new, I was an evangelist and everything was simple. Just do it like this and it will all be fine. Or no, you should always be a servant leader. You should always be a kind of a coach, have a coaching stand. But no, that's not depends. Everyone hates that answer. It depends. But yeah. Yes, sometimes you should be have a coaching stance. Sometimes you should be the servant leader. In other situations, you should not be a leader at all. You should just not interfere. You should let allow people to try and fail, not intervene. In other situations, you should step in and take control, depending on the context. Be the leader. Ask for followers. Ask people to trust your decisions and show the way. In other situations, you should teach and explain and then walk away and hope that people understand what you do. But if anything, I think my view on leadership, I believe a leader shouldn't fix the problem. They should work with fix the system. That's the number one focus. And the overarching strategic goal, both not only in terms of product or service, but also with regards to our ways of working and how we organize ourselves and culture. What culture do we want? And work with those things instead. So that has changed, and the importance I see in that has grown, I guess. So yeah, working as a leader, you should spend more and more time working with the system than fixing problem or directing. But sometimes you should, and all leaders are different. So yeah, that was a vague and fluffy. It depends.
No, that's a good answer. I mean, what I'm getting is that leaders before, they were just problem solvers or just access approvers, right? And now what you're mentioning is that you need to be able to understand or to know and differentiate when you need to be a coach, when you need to be a mentor, when you need to teach, when you need to just solve the problem, and that's it, right? So you need to be more flexible, more adaptive, right? More smart about how you approach different situations, right?
Yeah. And if you as a leader, manager, see a problem, don't dive into the problem and try to fix that. Investigate, how did this surface? Why do we see this dysfunction? And it always boils down to people talk. It always boils down to that. So how come we fail to have the important conversation around these situations, problems, strategic decision, whatnot? And once we've solved this problem, which we probably have to solve, how can we set that up? How can we change the way we collaborate or communicate or make decisions in the future, so this situation is less likely to happen? That's where you should spend your time and energy, working with the system or fixing the system, not the problem. Because if you're always fixing problem, you're going to be a problem solver. And if you're away, nothing is going to happen, and people are going to be confused when you're absent because they can't ask you about your decision or opinion. I like a story from Spotify. So the CTO, Oscar Ståhl, said, "Yeah, I'm happy to make a technical decision for you if you fail to agree, because obviously you're having different opinions of what to do or how to solve this. I can make a decision for you if that's what you want. It's going to be a crappy decision because I don't have your level of insight, but I can make it for you here and now. But if I do, we're going to have a post-mortem next week to investigate why we ended up in a situation where you failed to make decisions between each other. So do you want me to make a decision for you or not?"
Yeah, that's a good approach. Okay. Jimmy, how have you seen Agile evolve in response to these emerging trends and technologies like remote work or artificial intelligence? What's your take on this?
I'm still in the dark regarding artificial intelligence, as anyone else, I guess. I see engineers discovering all clever ways of using it and writing code or whatnot, and it seems to do magic sometimes. But I guess that's on a mastery level for engineers. I see managers using it more like Google, checking stuff or asking for opinions or a summary of stuff. But other trends regarding hybrid and remote, I think it goes both ways. I've seen trends where it becomes an emphasis on visualization, so which I like. So more and more teams are using Miro or Mural. Monitor wanted to die. So in order to collaborate effectively as teams, we use Miro to visualize plans, and we might create a Scrum board or a Kanban board visually. I love that. And they have, some teams have forever meetups, so they have a Google Hangout live all the time. So they're really using the technology in a positive direction, in my opinion, to strengthen teamwork and collaboration. But I've also seen kind of a bad trajectory where teams meet less and less. They only sit at home, and when they don't meet, when they don't visualize, when they don't talk, when they don't collaborate, they go a different direction. So there's a stronger emphasis on who does what, who's accountable for what, who owns what. So more division of labor and responsibilities within the team, because it's easier to work individually than collaborate, which introduces a lot of the wastes. So handoffs, misconceptions, and delays and whatnot. So that's another direction. And I see some managers and leaders feeling nervous or afraid of losing contact with the people, they start using their one-on-ones for status updates. So what are you working on? Or do you have any problems? So instead of attending the team's planning sessions or the team's retrospectives or the team's dailies or whatnot, they use the one-on-ones for status updates. I think that's a really bad direction, because then you're siloing the communication. So I think as a manager, you should use the one-on-ones to talk about how the people are doing and how they're feeling and health and how you can support them and what's going on in their lives. So that's way more important. And then once again, work with the system. So what ceremonies do we have where the teams actually meet? Because we're probably going to have to structure that up. Maybe add more meetings when we're doing remote, so that we have that fluid those fluid conversations going.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see, but primarily I've seen, my take on that is that, and this is already happening. I think when people are looking for new jobs, the first thing they're going to ask about is hybrid, on-site, remote, and I guess in a few years' time we'll know what do the most valuable talents, what do they prefer? Is it full remote, full hybrid, on-site? I think it's the employers that's going to dictate the future here, not the managers or what they want.
Yeah, and that sounds good, right? So Jimmy, could you share with the audience what you consider the greatest or one of the biggest successes of your career so far, and also if you can share some of the failures, when maybe one failure or story where things didn't go well in a transformation or somewhere, and also what you learned. So some good story and some lesson learned.
Oh, I would have wanted this question in advance. Biggest success, I don't know, it depends on who you ask, but I was when Spotify reintroduced OKRs, and I talked about this earlier, and I mentioned the blog post. Me and the other Agile coaches in my tribe, we got a chance to reinvent how to work with OKRs, so that's inclusive and collaborative, and bottom up and top down, not just cascading. And that seemed to work out really good for not only our tribe, but that way of approaching the OKR season that spread. So that I'm really happy about that. And just recently, last year, I worked with Tibber. They're working with the green electricity. So I helped them reinvent their company-wide strategic framework. So once a quarter, they also have a series of strategic alignment exercises. So I'm really happy about the impact that had, and the way it changed the way they do things and talk about things and think about collaboration and priority negotiation. So I'm really happy about that, and I'll hopefully be able to share that story soon. I'm really proud over this book and the popularity of it, and the fact that kind of volunteers, random people, have wanted to translate it into so many different languages.
Nice.
So it's a simple setup. So the translator gets 50% of the profit from LeanPub or my site. You're not going to be rich from it, but so I'm really happy about that. Failures. I guess some people hated OKRs at Spotify, so they blame me for making OKRs stick. I don't know.
Was there any lesson that you learned from that hate to OKRs, or was there just like, come on, these things work, right?
I heard this recently. So, but since I was there, their way of doing OKRs have evolved. So they're doing things differently now. So someone heard that I was the one of the people reintroducing OKRs. So they blamed me for their current way of doing OKRs, and I can't relate to that. I don't know. I make mistakes all the. If I made any big blunders, I've suppressed them. But you make small mistakes all the time. You try to be clever or introduce ideas that doesn't fly or doesn't stick, or you propose the wrong tool to the wrong problem. Nah. I had a funny story. I did a seminar once, and I told about the quality and testing at the company here in Sweden, and I told the people there, it was at their office, and I told them a story about the transformation that took place, and about how that company went from having a back-end team and a front-end team into cross-functional teams, and then over the years they improved the way they worked with quality, and now they're shipping every week with high quality. And I was trying to tell them a a nice story about the positive impact of change. And I started noticing people kind of giggling and talking to each other and just sitting like this. Then after a while, I thought, what's going on? There's something going on. What are you talking about? Well, the story you're telling us, that's a partner of us. And we are getting the stuff they're building. We are getting that. And no, we don't recognize the quality you're talking about.
Okay.
So yeah, so sometimes a former colleague of mine said, don't ruin a good story with facts. Because many times people aren't interested in facts. They want to hear stories that inspires them and gives and shows them alternative ways of doing it. So that's my primary approach. Don't ruin a good story with facts. But this was a bad situation to do that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Jimmy, if you had some dinner conversation with any Agile figure, do you have someone in mind? Like, I really admire this person.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, there's so many. Lisa Atkins, always great conversation when those few times I met her. Alistair Coburn, crazy brave. Tobias Meyer, he calls himself a rebel. Victor Sessan, Swedish Agile coach, is always very deep, and he always goes several layers behind or beneath the problem or topic at hand. I don't know. So yeah, top of mind.
Let's put we will put all those names in the description of the video so everyone can start looking for their work. Okay. Jimmy, has these Agile practices and these Agile knowledge changed in some way or affected your life? Like, do you apply this with your family, with your friends, or is this something that has to do only with software and companies?
A little bit, maybe. So when I just packed down my apartment to have it stored. So yeah, sure. I started using Post-its and a Kanban board just to keep track of things and to visualize everything ahead. Anytime I end up kind of collaborating on a project, I just revert back to some kind of iteration planning and sharing and demoing and retrospectives. I don't call it that, but yeah, sure. I guess I do that. But I made another weird journey in my life. So before I studied at university, when I was in the base school, I wanted to work with computer graphics or the visualizations for the new Star Wars movies. Well, those came and went, right? But so I figured out that pretty early. So when I was 12 or 13 years old, and I made a plan. I'm going to study computer science. So I made kind of a long 8-year plan of I had to study hard and get into that school, etc., etc. So that was the young version of me. Now I don't even know what to do next quarter. So so I'm just trying to maximize the fun I'm having and balancing life work. So I'm way more short-sighted now, even though I don't know if that's because I worked with Agile. Maybe it is. So yeah, I don't get 5-year goals or personal goals. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to have fun.
Nice, that's good. Jimmy, I have just a couple of more questions. If you had a time machine, what advice would you give to yourself at the beginning of your journey?
I know I don't work with regret. I think that waste of positive energy. But what would maybe one thing would be I should have gotten that Scrum trainer certification because that has proven to be a money factory. So yeah, I had a chance, but I choose not to. I was busy doing other stuff. Maybe it's not too late, of course, but maybe just become a certified Scrum trainer. I guess that would have given a lot more work opportunities because if you manage to get together a popular training, or at least in Sweden, that's good money for a self-employed consultant like myself. No, I don't know. This was a good one. This is too deep.
That's good. That's good that you don't have a lot to say to your younger self, right? So it means that you're proud of what you have done. That's great, right?
Another way, I wouldn't end up where I am today unless I've made the choices I've made. Well, I guess there's some clients or some people I wish I hadn't worked with because they turned out to be assholes or just energy consumers. Okay. So I could have done my life without them, but you never know in advance. You always try to make the best possible decisions, and sometimes you make a decision for all the right reasons, but it still ends up being a bad decision beyond your control or influence. So I'm not sure. Yeah, but I guess I could have been without a few assholes.
Yeah, I also have some assholes in my life, so that's good advice. Okay. Any question, Jimmy, that I might have forgotten, or any topic that you want to mention? Are we good?
No, you touched on so many things, and some really good ones that got me stumbled. So no, I really had a good time.
That's great. That was the idea. I'm hoping that we can have a second conversation. Maybe we can focus it on special topics, like maybe parts of your book, or maybe also talk about the the Spotify model. That I have a ton more questions, but for now, I think that we're good with 1 hour and 50 minutes. So, could you share with the audience maybe your coming work? What are you up to? I know that you have the workshops, the trainings. Do you have anything more to share that you want to communicate?
No, you have it. So what you just said. So upcoming trainings on my website, and it's in collaboration with Dandy People, but you can find the dates, and majority of them are online. So you can join them from wherever you are, and they're in English. I have more YouTube videos scheduled. So that's that, and those are the biggest things. I'm currently looking for my next engagement. So I wrapped up my previous engagement before summer, but now I'm looking for a new company to partner up with. So so if you're looking for an Agile coach part-time, or I don't know, inspiration from a seminar or a course, here I am.
Nice. We will put all the links to your websites and trainings and your social network in the links. I think that I can also share with you the video if you want to upload it to your YouTube channel. I think that we can also do that. That could be cool.
I would love that.
Yeah, sure. And that's it. Thanks a lot, Jimmy, for your time. It has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it, really. So hopefully we can have soon part 2, right? Thank you, man.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you, Hector, for inviting me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.